we'll start today on our seats and just kind of wiggle around, get those sitting bones down, rooting into our mat. We'll pull those shoulders back and down, open up the chest, lift from the top of the head, make ourselves nice and tall. We'll take a couple of big deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouths. And then we'll seal our lips and breathe in and out through our nose. And then when we're ready, we'll inhale, lifting our hands up to the sky. And then exhale, we'll just turn to the right. Our right hand can find the floor behind us. Left hand can find that right thigh. We'll just do a little twist, tiny twist. And then inhale back up to the sky. And then exhale over to the left. And back up to the sky. And then exhale, let's bring those hands and chests forward into a little fold here. Keeping our chests low, our shoulders relaxed. We're just gonna walk those hands over to the right, bringing our chest over that right leg. And then back to the center, one breath here. And then over to the left. And then back to the center again. Inhale, let's lengthen in that spine. Exhale, sinking the chest down a little bit further. And then we'll slowly help ourselves back up, seated. Uncross our legs and we'll bring those feet out in front of us. Just a little bit wider than our hips. Make sure our spine is nice and tall right here. We'll just do some cat and cows sitting. So inhale, we'll arch in the spine, lift the heart. And then exhale, we'll round. Inhale, we'll arch. And exhale, we'll round. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, pull those shoulders back. And exhale, we'll round. And then find that neutral spine again. We'll work down towards our legs, wiggle those toes. We can flex and point the feet, kind of work those ankles a little bit. And then when we're ready, our hands can find the floor right behind us. And we're just gonna do some little windshield wipers with our knees. So exhale, we'll take those knees over to one side. And then inhale, we'll come back up to the center and exhale over to the other side. Just moving back and forth. with our breath. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Moving around in those hip joints. Let's do one more to each side. Inhale up, exhale down to the last side. Good, and back up to the top. Now we'll inhale here and then exhale. Bring those feet or those knees over to the right, and we're gonna hang out here in this 90-90 situation. So our right leg is parallel to the front of our mat if we have the front of our mat. Our back leg is gonna be, again, parallel to, so the thigh is parallel to the calf here, thigh and calf are parallel here, and then we'll just turn our body and just fold over that front leg, that right leg. Let those hips relax with our breath. Good. And then we'll slowly help ourselves back up to seated. We're still facing this right leg, and our right hand is going to find the floor over to the side. Left hand is going to reach up and over, and we're going to begin to look over that right shoulder. We should feel a nice lengthening action in that left leg, the hip, a little twist in the spine. Good, and slowly we'll come back to the center here. Inhale, let's lengthen. One more time, let's fold ourselves forward. Inhale, let's help ourselves back up to the top, and now the hands will go behind us. We'll think about this left leg. As we work our way back, let's think about lengthening in that quad, in the front of the hip. And inhale, we'll come back up to the top. Good. And then we'll bring that left leg out into the front with the right leg. Wiggle it out if we would like, and then begin to switch sides. So going into our deer pose on this side. So the left leg is out in front, right leg is behind, thinking about parallel lines as best as we can. If we're having troubles with our hips, we can adjust, but what we're kind of setting the goal for is having those parallel lines, both 90-degree angles in those knees, and then just relaxing in that hip, letting it sink down in toward the mat. Fingertips are out in front of us. We lengthen and then exhale. We'll slowly walk our hands forward into a fold. Using our breath. Feeling our bodies relax into the pose. And then walking those hands backwards. We'll lift ourselves up, keeping our legs where they are. That left hand will find the floor to our left. Right hand reaches up and over. We begin to look over here by that left shoulder, even maybe peek a little bit behind, opening up this right hip and the thigh. And slowly we'll unwind. Hands will come out in front of us again. Short fold here. And then help ourselves back up, and then we'll begin to work our way backwards. So hands go back behind. And think about lengthening all the way in the front of that right leg, in the hip. Lengthening in the spine. We can even pull those shoulders back, open up the chest. Good. And then we'll help ourselves back up to the top. Fingertips will find the floor in front of that left leg, and then we'll just kick that left leg back behind. We'll find ourselves on our tummy, and we can just kind of wiggle out a little bit. Take a breath or two. Let those hips reset a little bit. Good. And now arms are out in front of us just a little bit. Tiny bent arms. We're not full goalpost. Just a nice comfortable spot here. We can lower our head down to the mat. Feel our hips pressing into the ground. Feel our chest sinking into our mats. And now begin to press into the elbows, into the forearms, into the fingers. Oh, and think about opening up those shoulder blades behind us. Pressing into the floor, opening up the shoulder blades, and all of a sudden our head will begin to hover up off of the floor just a little bit. Opening up the shoulders, pressing into the mats. We're not looking for a back bend, we're more opening up those the shoulder blades behind us. So keeping our head in a nice neutral position, pressing in, we'll lift up the head, lift up the chest a little bit, and then slowly we'll just lower down. Relax behind us. Release the pressure on the floor. And then when we're ready, pressing into those elbows, opening up those shoulder blades behind us, pressing into the forearms, pressing into the fingers, lifting the head, lengthening in the back of the neck. Relaxing in our glutes. Holding here, keeping those shoulder blades spreading apart. And then exhale, let's lower down. Good, let's bring our shoulders underneath of us. So shoulders are underneath of our shoulders are over our elbows. As we inhale, we'll scoop and think about that length in our neck, the openness in our shoulder blades as we press into the elbows, into the arms, into the fingers, and we lift ourselves up for Sphinx, pulling that chest out in front of us, relaxing in the glutes, sinking those hips down into our mats. And exhale, we'll lower back down. Take a breath here. And then when we're ready, we'll do that one more time. So pressing into the elbows, into the forearms, into those fingers, pulling the chest forward, and then lifting as we press with those arms, opening up the shoulder blades behind us, lengthening in the neck, in the low back. Softening in the face, breathing nice and deep. If we're happy here, we stay here. If we would like, we can open our hands up a little bit wider than our shoulders and begin to press those hands so we can come up to a seal pose. And then exhale, let's lower all the way back down. We can release the arms to our sides. Take a breath or two. And then hands come underneath of our shoulders. We'll press back into a child's pose. Rounding in the spine. We did a lot of arching. Now let's round in the spine. Knees are nice and wide. Chest can go low. Arms are out in front of us, or they can be back by our feet for rabbit. Either way. Good. And then we'll slowly come up to our tabletop. Hands come underneath of our shoulders. Knees are underneath of our hips. Pressing into all of our little fingers. Straight backs. Tough, like strong tummy and torso. Right here, as we inhale, let's lift up that left hand, reaching it out in front of us, and we'll press the right foot back behind us. Keeping strength in our tummy, in our back. Good. We'll lower that left hand, reaching that right heel back behind us. Stretch, 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 stretch. And we'll put those toes down to the ground and then press the heel away. Get that calf a little bit. Kind of forget about those buddies. Good. Inhale, let's lift up that leg and we'll bring it all the way forward into our baby lunge. So hands come to the inside of the foot. We can rest that left leg back behind us. Lengthen in that spine. Begin to sink the hips down. Wiggle our way into it. Lengthen in the neck. Proud hearts. Good. And now exhale, let's work our way backwards for a half split. So hips come over the top of the knee, toes on the right leg point up to the sky. And now make sure that our hips are even and level. Good, hands can come to the thigh and bring our chest forward. We can walk our way down. If we've got a block, that's cool. We can just use the floor. Find what works for us today. Good. Inhale, let's come forward. And now here, let's place that left hand on the floor and we're going to lift up the right, little twist. And then from here, we're going to drop that right hand to the thigh. We're going to point those toes out to the right a little bit, pressing into that left hand. We'll begin to open the shoulders and look behind us. Little twist, looking past our toes behind us. Can open up that knee just a little bit. And then once we get that twist where we want it to be, we'll begin to sink that left hip down toward the floor. Keep the length in our spine. Turning, lengthening, sinking, all of the things happening at the same time. And slowly we'll come back to the center. Both hands find the mat. Again, we'll sink down one more time into that lunge. And then begin to shift our weight back. We can bring that right foot back. And we'll find ourselves in child's pose for 2 breaths. And then we'll come up to our tabletop again and work on the other side. So finding that neutral spine, our good alignment with our hands and our knees, and then we'll lift up that right hand and then press back with that left foot, turning that left hip down to meet the right, pressing the heel away, reaching the fingers, lengthening, breathing. And then we'll lower down that right hand. Press the heel away one more time, and then we'll lower the toes down and dig into that calf. Pressing the heel, keep pressing that heel away, away, away. Opening up that calf. Good, and then we'll lift up the foot and we'll bring it all the way forward and wiggle our way into our lunge on this side. Hands find the floor on the inside of that left foot. The right leg is nice and soft behind us. The hips are working forward, chest is lifting, shoulders are relaxed. Breaths are deep and even. And then walking ourselves backwards into our half split. Hips are over this right knee. Left toes point up to the sky, and we're hinging at the hip. Chest is working forward instead of down as we slowly lower ourselves into a little fold. The more we lengthen in this spine, the more we dig into that hamstring. We can activate this quad here, which will also help the hamstring stretch. And then we'll inhale, come forward. And then our right hand will stay on the floor. Left hand comes up for a little twist. Make sure that we're pressing into that right hand. Keep our shoulder nice and active instead of just hanging out. And then we'll lower that hand, that left hand down onto the thigh. We'll turn the toes out to the left just a little bit. Turning so that we're looking behind us, making sure nobody's peeking at us from wherever. That's weird. Lengthening in that spine, lowering that hip down. Keeping the twist, keeping the length. Breathing deeply. Let's do 2 more breaths here. Inhale, let's lengthen. Exhale, lower and twist just a little bit more. And slowly we'll unwind. We'll find that lunge again. Hang out here for a breath or 2. And then we'll begin to shift that weight back so we can bring the left foot back to meet the right, and we'll find ourselves in child's pose again. And now from here, let's walk those left fingers out in front of us just a little bit. Our butt will come away from our heels just a tiny bit. Keep that reach going with those left fingers, and then the right hand is going to thread the needle through. We'll place that shoulder and our head onto our mats, continuing to reach the left, reach the right. Let's stay here for 1 more breath. Inhale deep. Stay for the exhale. And then we'll slowly unwind. Find our child's pose. And then when we're ready, we'll walk those right fingers out in front of us. Our hips can lift a little bit. And then the left hand will thread through, placing the hand palm up onto our mat. Our shoulder finds the mat. We can relax our head, reaching with those right fingers, reaching with the left in the opposite direction. And making sure that our hips are not shifting in a weird direction. They're staying over the top of those knees or the heels. Let's do one more breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. And then we'll slowly unwind. Find ourselves back in child's pose. Let's come up onto our hands and our knees again. Good. We're going to stretch that right leg out and behind us. Just open that up. We can give it a little wiggle if we would like. Hands are out in front of us just a little bit as well. Then we're going to bring that leg all the way in and we'll set ourselves up for pigeon. So bringing that right knee just behind the right wrist. Flexing the foot. And then we'll walk that left leg out behind us just a little bit. Soften the foot behind us. And then make sure that our hips, again, are nice and even and level. So if we've got one hip that's sticking way back behind us, pull it forward. Pull the front one back to meet it halfway. If we're happy here, we stay here. If we would like, we can walk those hands out in front of us, lower ourselves down onto our elbows, keeping that back nice and straight, the hips exactly where we've left them. We can continue to walk those hands forward and fold all the way down if we would like. If we get to a spot and we don't like it, we can always come back. Let's do 2 more breaths here. And then we'll slowly begin to help ourselves back up to our hands if we are not already there. Good. And now I'll let you sit down on this right hip. We're going to bend this left leg so that we can grab the foot and pull that buddy in towards us. Good. And then gently let's release that foot. We don't want it to like flap all the way down to the ground. Good. Hands come down. And then again, we'll just dive that right leg all the way back behind us. Find ourselves on our tummies. From here, since we're here, let's do an upward facing dog. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. We lift ourselves up. The only thing that should be touching are our hands and the tippy tops of our feet, lengthening in that spine, sinking the hips almost down to our mat. And now let's drop those knees and we'll come back to our child's pose for one breath. Good, and then we'll come back up to our tabletop. Our hands will be out in front of us just a little bit. We'll reach back with that left leg, wiggle it out a little bit, stretch it, and then when we're ready, we'll just set ourselves up for pigeon on this side. Again, the knee is behind that same side wrist. We flex the front foot. We soften the back foot. We can even walk it back a little bit. We'll pull this left hip forward, or the left hip back, right hip forward. Sink down. Take a bit of a break here to see how it feels. Keeping that adjustments, all of the adjustments with our hips. And then when we're ready, we can walk forward, or if we don't want to, we don't have to. Walk forward to our elbows for Sphinx arms. We can stay here if we would like, or if we want, we can come all the way down into a fold. Every once in a while, bringing our focus back to our lower half to make sure that we haven't relaxed too much and let things go astray. Rein it all back in. Let's do 2 more breaths here. And then we'll slowly help ourselves back up to our hands. We'll sit down onto this left hip and we'll reach back and see if we can find the right foot and pull that baby back in towards our rump. And then we'll release that foot. Hands find the floor. We'll dive that leg back behind us. Oof. Give ourselves a wiggle. Shake it out. Good. And now, let's bring our arms just underneath of our head. Feeling our body just kind of sink down into our mats for a couple of breaths here. And then let's open up that right leg out to the side. So bending the knee, bringing it out to the side without turning our pelvis too much. Depending on how our hips are feeling, it might lift up a little bit, but we're not trying to roll over. We're just trying to open up that hip a little bit. For a half frog. With every breath, feel our hips relax just a little bit. One more breath. And then we'll wiggle those feet all the way back. We need to, we can give our hips a little wiggle. Big breath. And then we'll move it on over to the other side. So left leg will come out to the side. Right leg is just soft behind us. Stay here for 2 more breaths. And then we'll wiggle those toes back behind us. Give ourselves a little shake out. And then we'll just roll over onto our back. Since we're already flat, let's just flip the pancake over. Find ourselves onto our backs. We'll bring those knees into our chest. Roll up into a little ball. Good. And then we'll just release our shoulders and arms down to the mat. We'll lengthen that left leg. Keep the right bent and we'll bring it over to the left side for a little twist here. And then coming back to the center, we can roll up into our ball again. And we'll release that right leg, shoulders and arms come down to the mat as well, and then we'll just take that left knee over to the right side. And then we'll unwind, come back to our little egg one last time. One more breath here, inhaling deeply. Exhale, let's release and find a comfortable place to be for our Shavasana. Our arms can come out to the sides, our legs, just find a spot. We close our eyes, we soften our jaw, we relax our tongue, and we allow ourselves just a little bit of time to be still. Let's begin to deepen our breath. We'll wiggle our fingers and our toes. And bring our knees in towards our chest and roll over onto our side. And we'll help ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. Taking a moment to check in with how we are feeling after our practice and after our nap. We bring our hands together at our heart. We bow to ourselves and give thanks to us for all of the gifts that we just gave ourselves. Please make sure that as we interact with people and as we interact with ourselves, we err on the side of kindness and understanding. The greatest gift that we can give ourselves and other people is an open heart and an open mind. I wish you all a very, very happy day. I thank you so much for joining me. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.